Welcome, fellow bookworms, to Tibra's Den. My name is Whitney, and it is day 17 of Bookmas. So didn't have as good of a reading day as I had planned yesterday. My tire, when I went to visit my grandparents, when I went to come home, it said my tire was flat, and that, happens sometimes. I mean, it hasn't been cold here. We're gonna hit 80 this weekend. Basically, it's the high 70s this weekend, so it really hasn't been cold. But in the wintertime, sometimes it drops. And so like I called my husband. He's like, "Well, Hondas are really sensitive, and didn't look visibly low." So he's like, "Just go home, and we'll deal with it later." And by the time I got home, it did look visibly low. I made it home though, thankfully. Thank you. And so yeah, he took it in yesterday to get it looked at, and I was hoping to wait till the new year to get brand new tires, but unfortunately we have to get new tires now. So it just kind of put me in a bad mood, and I didn't get a lot of reading done. But we did read our next section of Christmas Eve Love Story by Jenny Baird. Again, we're getting more of Braden's point of view, which I really like, but still just the harping on the fact that this is a time loop and is happening all over again, and what if it, never ends or whatnot. But we are getting Braden's viewpoint a little bit more. And so I like that aspect of it. And they're finding little ways to kind of progress their romance and such. So that's nice. But yeah, just it's like, and it's still a little cheesy, a little cliche, but it I'm enjoying it more. Like I am definitely invested in the story and such. But it's just kind of frustrating that the author, like, I don't know if she thinks we're stupid as readers or if like the characters like just don't get it, but she's just really harping on the fact that it's the Groundhog's Day trope. But we did continue that, so we'll resume that tomorrow. And then Midnight at the Christmas Bookshop by Jenny Colgan. I did not get to this at all. Didn't even touch it. And I'm not all that excited about it just because I still like where I left it. I don't know what's happening. But I do want to finish it. Like this isn't one I'm interested in DNFing at all. So again, I know I said this every day, but fingers crossed I can make some progress tonight. Just by the time it's late and I'm just ready to close my eyes. So there's that one. But I did read and finish The Snow Angel by Glenn Beck. So I know I was kind of harsh on Gideon's Gift by Kingsbury, um, about, like just the trauma of it. And this one has a lot of those same aspects in a different way. Like that was more illness and, you know, loss and living on the street and such. Where this one is more like domestic abuse and that cycle. Um, excuse me, and then it does have Alzheimer's in here as well. So keep those in mind if those would be triggers for you. But this is done right. This one, it felt like the author like wanted to use these specific, very sad and heart wrenching things. Um, and it's kind of her preconceived notion of what that would be. Where this one, it really feels like he's letting the characters tell their story. And I really, I've read two other Glenn Beck books before. The Immortal Nicholas is still my favorite. The Christmas Sweater I didn't love as much, but I still really enjoyed it. And this one, like, I loved. I gave it 5 stars. So you have our main character, Rachel, and when she was growing up, it was actually her mom who was abusive, and you're getting her viewpoint, and then you're getting, which this technically it never actually says, but you can tell pretty clear on. So I don't think it's a spoiler because you can tell pretty clear on what's happening from the beginning. But if you don't want spoilers, just skip ahead. But basically, we're following her dad, Mitch, who has Alzheimer's. And so I thought that representation was done so well. I've never known anybody with Alzheimer's. I've known my stepdad's mom did have dementia, so I know that a little bit, but I didn't know her very well either. So, but I just thought it was well because I like that he wasn't like again, you know, again Christian writing, like a Christian writer, and it wasn't like, oh, just find God and everything's perfect. God was definitely prevalent there, but it wasn't just a matter of, oh, just find him and everything's perfect. I thought he did it really realistically. And you don't necessarily get that happy ending, but it's a feel good and it's a hopeful ending, you know? And so we're following, you know, her viewpoint, and then you're following Mitch, and he's just confused, and like sometimes he has a little bit of clarity, but other than that, he's just really confused, and he like has like little glimpses of his daughter, and he has regrets. And there's another guy in the home that's helping him just write letters and such to Rachel. So you're going back and forth, and like I said, it doesn't explicitly say it's her dad, but you know, like you can like it's pretty obvious, I guess. And so it was her mom who was abusive growing up. And then her and her dad didn't really get on. Her dad was like just a hardworking man. He loved his daughter, but he didn't know how to show that affection. Um, and so they didn't really get on. And there was a neighbor couple next door who were seamstresses, and they hired her after her mom died when she was like 14, I think. And so they were kind of like parental figures in her life. And so fast forward, and she's now married to an abusive husband. And I like that you kind of got the two different viewpoints of, you know, her dad being in an abusive relationship, and then her being, I mean, the dad part wasn't as prevalent, I guess. But I like that you got both of those sides, and you also see like the dynamic of her being, you know, belittled and abused as a kid, and her dad not necessarily stepping in to protect her, and then now she's a mother and she kind of has to figure out, you know, what to do. And I really, really liked it. I just like the dynamic, and it really struck a chord with me because of, you know, things I've gone through, um, with my ex stepdad and such, not my current stepdad, but when I was growing up. So it really kind of like I had that dynamic in my own household where you don't know what mood they're going to be in, and you're kind of walking on eggshells. My stepdad was never physically abusive, luckily, but you know he would just fly off the handle, and you never knew what mood. So I really, really just liked how this was done. And I like that you see it's not just a switch flips. You know, you see the progression of her realizing, like, yes, he's abusive to me. He has been abusive to me my whole marriage. And I need to make a choice whether I'm going to let my daughter, you know, she really tried hard to protect her daughter from it. So when they would fight, you know, they would wait. She kind of had that hard line, but her daughter's, you know, a preteen now. She's like 11, and she's starting to realize what's going on and such. So she kind of has to now like make that choice. Like, am I going to allow this cycle to continue? And such. So I really just loved how it was done. I mean, like I said, it's not a happy ending, but it's a very hopeful and heartwarming ending. So absolutely love this one. 5 stars for sure. And I finished it, so it can go onto the cart because it's done. I did start Silent Night. I did not finish this. I was very hopeful I could read this because it's only like 150 pages or something around that mark. And so I was hopeful I could get this read, but like I said, I just kind of got in a bad mood. 154. I did read 31 pages of this. I'm very very much planning on finishing this one today for sure. The first 31 pages so far it's not horrible. Like it's more focused on the story. Um, so again, you have somebody with leukemia, but in this case, it's a father, and we haven't really seen him yet. It starts off you have the mom and wife of the guy with leukemia, and her 2 sons, and they're in the cab, and they're going, you know, to see the Rockefeller Center tree. Um, and so she's upset and just kind of distracted and whatnot. And then she gives her kids $1 to pay this street musician, each $1. She has a 10-year-old son and a 7-year-old son, Brian. And she doesn't quite get her wallet pushed back in, and it falls, and Brian sees that, and he goes to pick it up, and somebody else snags it. And so he's like panicking, he's trying to call his mom, but there's so many people and the music and such, she can't hear him. And so he's like, shoot. And so he just takes off to follow this woman, figuring he'll call like 911 or something when he has the chance. And so that's kind of where we're at. But so far, like, you still have that emotion, and like, yes, it's upsetting, but it's not feeling like it's just done for the trauma of it, I guess, like in a certain other book. So so far, the 31 pages I've read, I have enjoyed. And like I said, I'm very confident I can get this, even, if it's later in the day, I'll be able to finish this at bedtime if I need to. So that's kind of where we're at. Of course, tonight it is an odd day, so we'll be reading the next story in Mystery for Christmas, which is edited by Cynthia Manson. I'm really hoping this one is a little bit better than what we've been reading so far. This one's called The Plot Against Santa Claus by James Powell. And it looks like it's 30 pages, so 29 pages. So a little bit of a longer one compared to the other ones in this specific book. Obviously, that's not very long at all, but hopefully this one will be enjoyable. Fingers crossed. Like, none of them have been absolutely horrible, but they're just not all that great. So there's been a couple that I've really enjoyed, but so far it's kind of been a lot of misses in this one. But we're gonna finish it out, so we'll see how the Plot Against Santa Claus goes. And then that brings us to today. This one is a hardback. I'm thinking this is going to be another Richard Paul Evans, based on the size and that it's a hardback. I already had Mary Higgins Clark yesterday, which, if that's the case, that's good, because they're, again, read really fast. So let's go ahead and see what we have. But that's my best guess. So I'm hopeful, though, too, because I enjoyed the two Richard Paul Evans I have read. The Christmas box wasn't my favorite, but I really liked Christmas Memory. So there is that. It's not wanting to come open. Okay, there we go. We got it. Oops. Paper's flying. Okay, ready? Maybe? It's caught on something. Okay. Okay, yep. So this is The Mistletoe Promise, again, by Richard Paul Evans. And I'm pretty sure this is the first in the series. It's like the Mistletoe series or something. But it doesn't say in here. Let me go ahead and let's see here. I think it's on here. It says the Christmas box. So let's see if I am right, because I'm pretty sure, like I said, I had two that were part of series and two that were not. Yeah, the Mistletoe Collection. So this is the first in a series. And let's see what it's about, shall we? So it says, Elise Dutton dreads the arrival of another holiday season. 3 years earlier, her husband cheated on her with her best friend, resulting in a bitter divorce that left her alone, broken, and distrustful. Then one November day, a stranger approaches Elise in the mall food court. Though she recognizes the man from her office building, Elise has never formally met him. Tired of spending the holidays alone, the man offers her a proposition. For the next 8 weeks, until the evening of December 24th, he suggests that they pretend to be a couple. He draws up a contract with 4 rules: no deep, probing personal questions, no drama, no telling anyone the truth about the relationship. The contract is void on Christmas Day. The lonely Elise surprises herself by agreeing to the idea. As the charade progresses, the safety of her fake relationship begins to mend her badly broken heart. But just as Elise begins to find joy again, her long-held secret threatens the emerging romance, and she might not be the only one with a secret. Interesting. So we got like fake dating. So yeah, I'm excited to give this a go. And it's, again, not gonna be super long, which is nice. 240, 251 is the length. So, and again, it's kind of smaller in size. which makes it read a little bit faster. So yeah, we got a good lineup for today. I think I'm pretty. I mean, every day I'm pretty confident, but based on what we have, as long as I don't get struck, like we said, gotta take the car in to get the tires. Um, because we just ordered them yesterday. So we got to go do that. But once I get home and get tucked in, I think this will go pretty fast. And hopefully, I feel pretty good today. So hopefully, that means my brain fog and such will be fine. And I can get through some of these because like I'm not really progressing forward, but I'm at the same kind of point where I was yesterday as far as what I need to get read. So at least I'm not adding on, but I'm not moving forward either. And I really want to get like some of the days coming up are some of the bigger ones. Like none of them are huge, but So I would really like to get caught up and see what we can do. But I'm excited to read these. Probably the one I'm least excited about is still Midnight at the Christmas Bookshop, just because I don't know what's going on. But kind of trust the process and hopefully we can get there. Anyway, I will be back tomorrow and hopefully my confidence was warranted and I'll have good progress to report. But I will see you guys tomorrow.